Hello everyone. Hi, I am Southpaw2900 and I saw a request on r/technical Minecraft a couple days ago. Well, actually it was yesterday. Looking for a mushroom stem farm, specifically the stems. And I saw that and I thought, I want to try to build something, help someone out. So that's exactly what I did. So here is the bottom half of the farm, and I will go through step by step what all I did, and then the top part of the farm is right up here. Now, the thing about mushrooms is when you're trying to farm them, brown mushrooms is, from what I've seen, the best way to go by far, because the canopy is a lot easier to get rid of with TNT. Now, Bedrock TNT is very unpredictable. Sometimes it works, well, most times it works, I should say, but not every time. So this farm is definitely not perfect, and anyone who wants to improve on it, you are more than welcome to. So let's break it down. Right down here, we have the bottom portion. So my original idea was that you need a way to move the stems out of the way. Sorry about that. You need a way to remove the stems from a blast zone, which is right up here. Now this farm will give you 36 stems every couple of minutes. So right here is where we, if I can get some brown mushrooms, where did they go? Right here. If we take some brown mushrooms, place it down, and bone meal it, we have a farm there. Now this TNT is probably going to drop pretty late, meaning it actually did pretty good. So what's happening here is we're moving the stems out of the way so they don't get blown up by the TNT up there. And these can then be mined later. So I used a block of podzol so I don't have to worry about light level. And let's take it component by component. The entirety of this farm is activated when this observer goes off. So what happens is the observer goes off and it sends a signal into this block, which then starts a little circuit by the bowtie man. This one right here. This is called a observer piston circuit, which is at least what he calls it. So the observer sends power into this block, which sends a line over to that redstone tower, or redstone torch tower, that brings TNT, or brings the power up to here. I have it inverted here because of the very specific heights that it needs to be at. Now, let's talk about that for a second before I continue on. Your tower needs to start, or the top of your tower needs to be 25 blocks above the beginning of the tower. And these heights are very specific because I cannot tell you the amount of times that I've actually blown this farm up working on it. So it then sends power into this line, which does two separate functions simultaneously. The first one is it sends it into this pulse extender. I cannot remember who made this circuit, but thank you to them. And this pulse extender gives you about 16 ticks, which this piston pushes out, and it holds the TNT that's dropped from here. So after 9 ticks, and it needs to be 9 ticks, this dispenser is powered, and it drops a lit bit of TNT onto the extended piston. After the pulse extender here is done, the piston retracts and the TNT falls. So your piston specifically needs to be, if this is at Y level 33, it needs to be about 28 blocks above your podzol here. And that is actually pretty important because that's how all the timings work. Well, I say standing on top of the piston, it should be 28 blocks above standing on top of the podzol. Now we're only taking 3 stems here because if we tried to take the 4th stem, the entire circuit would get blown up, including the piston pushing the 4th stem out, We've also covered everything with a layer of obsidian to reduce the risk of it getting blown up. Now, back up here, if we take it more specifically, we have our lit redstone torch, one powered piece of redstone, going into a block, going into another redstone torch. This inverts the signal. We go redstone dust, turn to the left, a repeater set to 2 ticks, going into 2 pieces of redstone with the comparator going in line with the repeater here, and then a redstone dust, another redstone dust, and another redstone repeater, which allows that slow pulse extension, about 8 ticks. So then we have a repeater set to 1 tick going into redstone dust. We take a right, another redstone dust, and redstone, and redstone. Now the comparator facing forward needs to be in line with this right here, or else there are going to be some issues. So this comparator facing forward, redstone dust, this one facing backwards, redstone dust, and this piston being immediately powered by this redstone dust here. And over on this side, at the same place where we turn left, we're going to move forward. We're going to move forward, and we have repeater set to 1 tick, repeater set to 4 ticks, and repeater set to 4 ticks, running into a redstone dust here, which then climbs this little staircase. So a redstone dust up 1 block and up 1 more block, and then it runs into the side of the dispenser with TNT inside of it, which I've tested this a lot because it had a stack in it. Also, there needs to be a repeater running into the beginning of your redstone torch tower. Now, the next point I would like to point out is we have the actual powering, which is this middle observer right here. This one is very specifically placed to the second block, because if we had it placed at the first block, it would be activated when we place the brown mushroom and when we bone it. And then when it finally gets its growth spurt. That did very well. That still surprises me. So that's why it's going into the second one. And then this actually leads into this observer piston circuit that I talked about before. So behind the observer we have a solid block with redstone dust next to it. Redstone dust coming out from that, and one more coming out from that. Then we have one more redstone dust right here that goes into a repeater set to 3 ticks. Also, from our starting redstone dust, if we turn to the right, we have a repeater going into the bottom piston, or into the middle piston. So the reason we have this is so when the piston gets powered immediately, it gets pushed out, and then the repeater is locked by this system. So the observer detects when the piston is pushed out, meaning that the piston has to be locked so as to not make an infinite loop. Say you were to do something like this, and then this. Say you were to do that. And we just ran redstone into it. As soon as we place a block, we create an infinite loop. We can't have that. So back over here. From this observer piston circuit, we also have another function. We have to push the top and bottom piston. And to do the top one, we just do 2 slabs with redstone dust running up onto a slab so we can make a slab staircase. And then we have solid blocks going down to the bottom into this bottom piston here. That pushes everything over. And also, important to note, you should be standing right here doing your bone mealing and your placing. You can also set up an automatic bone meal station, and you could put yourself right here as your location to stand, so it automatically gets bone meal. But sometimes the TNT doesn't blow up all of the mushroom blocks above this obsidian layer, so you have to come up here and break that, because The brown mushroom does not like to spawn when there are blocks in the way of it growing. The next circuit we have is another very important one, and it's this one over here. So we have an observer watching for when a mushroom block makes it to right here, which is the maximum push length of these pistons, 12 blocks away. So if we put a block here, it turns on a toggleable flip-flop or T flip-flop, and you can make any T flip-flop you want, runs redstone dust into this repeater here, which goes into this block, into another repeater, and into another block, which has a redstone torch on it. Now there's one item inside this hopper here. This is the on state. So basically it happens with just the right timing to where when this gets activated, or deactivated for that matter, the hopper has just enough time to move the item from one to the other, which determines its on or off state. From here we have a comparator running directly into a repeater so we can refill the signal string. Then we have it running into a redstone dust, and a redstone lamp. The reason we have the redstone lamp is to indicate when you have hit the maximum push length. Now let's say we have actually hit the maximum push length and we decide to grow another mushroom. When it grows, there will be a major issue because once you break this block right here to harvest the stem, you're going to have more TNT falling. So you want to make sure this only gets activated when you want the TNT to fall. Now let's say you have a very bad case where like none of the top gets broken. I've included a circuit to account for that as well. And once you see this here, you can go and harvest everything and it automatically turns off once you harvest this stem block right here. Now, say nothing got broken, it blew up quite early on. You can flick this lever right here, which I will do, but with a bated breath, because I do not want to have to rebuild this. So when we flick it, the observer here is running back into this solid block right here, which powers this redstone and again starts a TNT portion. So you can try to blow up more TNT. Which, did that work? Or did I not hear it? What happened there? Yeah, it worked. It worked alright. Yep, we're good there. Alright. So now we can get rid of that. And you may be wondering, why do I have a piece of obsidian right here? Well, the way brown mushrooms work is that they have a basically 1 in 3 chance to make a 5 block tall. So let's look at it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 block tall, 6 block tall, or 7 block tall. Now, it also has a 5% chance to grow up to be 13 blocks, unless it thinks there's a roof in the way, which it will not grow up to a roof. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It will try to grow up to here, which creates a slight amount of danger, not much, but just a little bit of danger right up here. But it thinks that it cannot grow 13 blocks tall, and the reason that it thinks that is because we have this block right here, and it's in a very specific location. It is first off 9 blocks up, as I just showed, so we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 blocks tall, and it is also not directly above this because then the TNT wouldn't get to it. It's not right here because then the TNT sometimes gets caught on it from the retraction of the piston pulling it just slightly this way. It gets caught right here, which messes up the explosion of the canopy. And then if we put it right here, it works just perfectly to keep any 13 block tall brown mushrooms. And that is your system for a semi-automatic mushroom stem farm. Thank you all for watching, and I hope this helps the person who asked on r/technical Minecraft.